Tonight, we're diving into a long series of strange, creepy, and mysterious true crime stories while Resident Evil 4 gameplay quietly plays in the background. These are not loud stories, they're not full of screaming, jump scares, or dramatic music. These are slow, calm, unsettling stories designed to help you relax, focus, or fall asleep. So, dim the lights, get comfortable, and let's begin. Story 1. The Man Who Vanished During Lunch. In 1971, a man named Dan Cooper went to work like normal. He arrived early, talked with coworkers, answered a few phone calls, and spent the morning doing paperwork. Around noon, he stood up from his desk, grabbed his jacket, and told everyone he was going out for lunch. Nobody thought anything of it. People saw him leave the building and walk down the street. That was the last time anyone ever saw him. At first, coworkers assumed he was just taking a long lunch break, but after an hour passed, people started to wonder where he was. By the end of the day, his desk was untouched. His coat was gone, but his wallet, keys, and paperwork were all sitting in the office. When he never returned home that night, his family contacted the police. Investigators searched nearby restaurants, bus stops, train stops, and parks. They questioned coworkers, neighbors, and family members. Nobody had answers. There were no signs of a struggle, no suspicious phone calls, no bank activity. It was like he simply stepped outside for lunch and disappeared into thin air. More than 50 years later, nobody knows where Dan Cooper went. Story 2. The Locked Room Mystery. In the 1930s, police responded to a strange call about a woman who had found dead, who had been found dead. Okay. In the 1930s, police responded to a strange call about a woman who had been found dead inside her apartment. When officers arrived, they immediately noticed something unusual. The front door was locked from the inside. The windows were closed and latched. There was no sign of forced entry. Neighbors said they heard an argument late that night before. A woman yelling, a loud crash, then silence. The next morning, nobody answered the door. When police entered the apartment, they found the woman lying on the floor. Furniture had been knocked over, but there were no footprints, no fingerprints, and no sign that anyone else had been inside. Investigators searched every corner of the apartment. They checked for hidden doors, vents, open windows, and secret passageways. Nothing. The case quickly became famous because it seemed impossible. If someone had killed her, how did they escape? Some people believed it was suicide, others believed it was murder, and some believed there was something much stranger hiding behind the mystery. Story 3. The Woman in the Hotel. In 1995, hotel staff noticed that one guest had not left the room for several days. At first, nobody thought it was unusual. Some guests like privacy, some stay inside for days. But after room service trays started piling up outside the door, hotel workers became concerned. They knocked, no answer. They called the room, still nothing. Eventually, staff unlocked the door, and the room was empty. Her clothes were still folded neatly on the bed. Her suitcase was near the door. Her passport, shoes, and jewelry were all still inside the room. But the woman was gone. The room only had one door and one small window that barely opened. Security cameras showed nobody leaving. Police searched the hotel, questioned staff, and reviewed every security tape. There's still nothing. Some people believe she found a hidden exit. Others think someone working inside the hotel may have helped her disappear. Nobody knows what really happened. Story 4. The House with Footsteps. In a quiet neighborhood, a family kept hearing footsteps late at night. Every night, every night around 2 a.m., they heard slow footsteps coming from upstairs. The strange part was that nobody was upstairs. The family checked every room. They searched closets, the attic, under the beds, even inside the walls. Nothing. At first, they thought it was just house making noise. Old house creak, pipes move, wood shifts. But then the footsteps started moving. Some nights they sounded like they were in the hallway. Other nights they sounded like they were directly above the parents' bedroom. One night, the father grabbed a flashlight and slowly walked upstairs. The footsteps continued. Step, step, step. But the moment he reached the top of the stairs, everything went silent. The hallway was empty. Weeks later, police discovered a hidden crawl space above the ceiling. Someone had apparently been secretly living in the house for months. Story 5. The missing train passenger. In the 1980s, a man boarded a late-night train and quietly sat near the window. Passengers later said he looked completely normal. He was reading a newspaper and occasionally looking outside. When the train stopped at the next station, passengers stood up to leave. That's when people noticed something strange. The man was gone. His coat was still hanging over the seat. His suitcase was still under the table. His newspaper was still folded neatly beside the window. Train staff searched every car. They checked every bathroom, storage area, and emergency exit. Nothing. No one remembered seeing him leave. Some people claimed they saw him walk toward the back of the train. Others said he never stood up at all. It was like he simply disappeared in the middle of the ride. Story 6. The Empty Cabin. In the winter of 1962, a hunter discovered a small cabin deep in the woods. Smoke was still coming from the chimney. The door was slightly open. Inside, there was food on the table. A cup of coffee was still warm. A jacket hung near the door, but nobody was there. The cabin looked like someone had just stepped outside for a few minutes. But days passed, then weeks. Nobody ever returned. Police investigated and discovered that the cabin belonged to a man who lived alone. He had no family nearby and very few friends. No one knew where he went. The strangest part, the strangest part was that there were no footprints in the snow leading away from the cabin. 37. Phone call. One night, a woman received a phone call just after midnight. When she answered, nobody spoke. All she could hear was breathing. After a few seconds, the call ended. The next night, it happened again. Then again, the night after that. Eventually, she contacted the police. They traced the calls and discovered something terrifying. The calls were coming from inside their own house. Police searched the home immediately. They found no one. No open windows, no broken locks, nothing. But the calls stopped after that night, and to this day, nobody knows who was making them. Okay, guys, those were just a few strange and unsettling mysteries to relax tonight. Some of these stories were never solved, some still have theories and rumors surrounding them today. And maybe that's exactly what makes them so interesting. If you enjoy these stories, there are always more mysteries waiting in the dark. For now, try to relax, get some sleep, and I'll see you in the next story. I hope you guys enjoyed because I put a lot of effort into these videos. I make the voiceover myself, so I hope you guys can understand my English. But no, if you have any future ideas, like for future true crime ideas, stories, just let me know in the comments and I will gladly use them in my videos.